It started with a letter. Jonathan had never received anything so peculiar in his life. A black envelope, wax sealed with no return address. The paper was thick, almost leathery, and the ink was a deep crimson. You are invited to Raven Hollow. Midnight. Come alone. His first thought was a prank, maybe some local thrill seekers trying to scare him, but something about the handwriting, precise, elegant, almost hypnotic, made him pause. By dusk, curiosity gnawed at him. Jonathan parked his car at the edge of the forest road that led to Raven Hollow. The mansion loomed ahead, half hidden behind gnarled trees, its silhouette sharp against the dimming sky. Windows were dark, except for a single candle flickering on the top floor. The gate creaked open as he approached, as if the house itself was inviting him in. He hesitated at the threshold, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and something faintly metallic, something alive. The front door swung open silently, revealing a vast hallway bathed in shadows. The air was colder than outside, the silence absolute. So absolute it made his heartbeat sound like a drum. "Hello?" Jonathan called, his voice swallowed by the cavernous space. No reply. A whisper, soft and deliberate, drifted from somewhere deep in the house. "Welcome. You have come." Jonathan's stomach turned. He had wanted an adventure, a thrill, but the house didn't promise excitement. It promised something darker, something waiting. The hallway stretched endlessly, lined with old portraits whose eyes seemed to flicker in the candlelight. He could swear they were watching him, and at the far end, a door cracked open, just a fraction, as if inviting him to step closer. Jonathan swallowed, knowing that with one step, the night would change forever. Jonathan's hand hovered over the doorknob. Every instinct screamed at him to run, yet he stepped inside. The room was vast, with high ceilings and velvet curtains that blocked the moonlight. Shadows clung to every corner, moving as if alive. A faint humming echoed through the walls, soft at first, then growing, like whispers carried from somewhere beyond the mansion. He could hear them clearly now, a chorus of low voices speaking in a language he didn't understand, yet somehow felt he knew. They weren't coming from one place, but from everywhere. The walls themselves seemed to breathe, pulsating in rhythm with his racing heartbeat. Jonathan's eyes fell on a grand staircase spiraling into darkness. A figure moved at the top, barely visible, tall, thin, draped in black. No features were clear, just the gleam of pale skin catching the candlelight. The figure didn't step forward, didn't speak. It just watched. A cold wind brushed against his neck. He turned sharply, but the door he had entered through was gone. In its place, a polished wood wall reflected nothing but shadows. Panic clawed at him. He was no longer a visitor. He was trapped. The whispers grew louder. He thought he could hear his name among them. "Jonathan, come closer. See the truth." A painting on the far wall shifted. It wasn't just an image anymore. The eyes moved, following him, burning into his mind. His throat tightened. The house wasn't just watching him. It was alive. It was hungry. And from the staircase, the figure finally spoke. A voice like velvet, yet sharp as a blade. "You came willingly. Now you cannot leave." Jonathan realized then that this night was not about fear. It was about choice. And he had already made it. Jonathan stumbled backward, his breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The figure on the staircase didn't move, yet he felt its gaze pierce through him like a physical force. On a small table near the wall, a single red candle flickered. The flame danced unnaturally, casting shapes that twisted into faces, screaming, pleading, warning. He realized the candle wasn't just light. It was a warning, or maybe a lure. The whispers changed tone. No longer merely murmurs, they became sharp, urgent. "Do not touch it. Do not touch it." But something inside him, a compulsion he couldn't fight, made him reach out. His fingers trembled as they hovered over the candle's base. The flame flared violently, and the shadows around the room lunged forward. Jonathan fell backward, heart hammering, and the whispers screamed in unison, "You chose this!" The figure on the stairs finally stepped down. Its movements were fluid, graceful, almost hypnotic. The pale skin glowed in the candlelight. Its eyes, dark and endless, seemed to pull Jonathan in. "Fear is useless," the figure whispered, gliding closer. "Hunger and curiosity brought you here. Now only understanding remains." Jonathan looked around the room. The walls were lined with portraits, families, strangers, people he didn't recognize. Each one had eyes like the figures, empty yet alive. Some had faint smiles, others twisted in silent screams. And then he saw the familiar, his own reflection, trapped within a frame, staring at him. The candle flickered again, and in the sudden darkness, he heard footsteps, soft, deliberate, circling him. He tried to run, but the room had grown larger, impossible, infinite. The figure's voice came again, soft but penetrating. "The candle shows the way. The candle holds the truth. Look and see who you are." Jonathan's eyes were drawn back to the flame, and as he leaned closer, a memory, not his own, surged through him. Pain, loss, betrayal. A life lived centuries ago. And in that moment he understood. The house wasn't just alive. It was sentient, and it remembered everyone who ever dared enter. Jonathan staggered through the living room, eyes fixed on the red candle, now guttering as though it had its own heartbeat. Behind him, the figure moved silently, always just out of reach. A hallway appeared where none had existed before, walls dark as dried blood, lined with doors that seemed alive, breathing softly. The whispers followed him, fragmented voices overlapping. "You cannot leave. You belong." He tried the nearest door. It was locked. Every door was locked. Yet each door reflected his fear, showing glimpses of his past mistakes, his regrets, the moments he had tried to escape responsibility. Then a faint, cold breeze carried a new sound, scratching. Something moved behind the walls, deliberate, patient, watching him. Jonathan's heart raced. "Step lightly, or you'll join them," the figure whispered,
now close enough that its voice echoed inside his skull. A sudden realization hit him. The candle's flame was guiding him. Its shadows pointed down the hallway, toward a larger door at the far end, carved with unfamiliar runes that seemed to writhe in the flickering light. Jonathan approached, hand trembling, every step heavier than the last. The portraits along the walls began to shift, the eyes of the people in them following him, pleading, accusing, whispering. One by one, he recognized faces from towns long forgotten, travelers who had disappeared, adventurers who had sought legends and never returned. The door loomed ahead, its wood blackened and scarred. He touched the handle. Cold. Alive. A surge of memories, not his own, coursed through him. The centuries of desire, of hunger, of darkness contained within the lair. The candle flared one final time. Shadows lunged. The figure appeared directly behind him, its eyes boring into his soul. This is your choice, Jonathan. Walk through or be consumed. Jonathan swallowed hard, a shiver running down his spine. The hallway stretched endlessly behind him, whispers rising in intensity. Do not hesitate, or become part of the walls. He exhaled, summoning the courage he didn't know he had, and turned the handle. The door creaked open, revealing a staircase spiraling downward into darkness, crimson light spilling from the cracks. He stepped inside, and the door slammed shut. Behind him, the whispers fell silent.
The staircase spiraled endlessly, each step echoing like a heartbeat in a hollow chest. Crimson light bled through the cracks, casting jagged shadows that crawled along the walls. Jonathan's hands were clammy, and every instinct screamed at him to turn back, but curiosity and terror drove him forward. At the bottom, the staircase opened into a vast chamber. The ceiling disappeared into darkness, and the air was thick, almost viscous, as if he were walking through the remnants of old blood. Candles floated in midair, casting light that seemed to bend and twist around him. Voices whispered from all directions, but when he turned, no one was there. The whispers were different this time, seductive, almost intimate. You wanted to see. Now, see. Shadows coalesced into forms at the edges of the room, human shapes, faceless, draped in black, moving like smoke. They circled Jonathan, silent but heavy with expectation. Ahead, a massive mirror rested against the far wall. Its surface was not reflective. It absorbed light, dark and deep. He could feel it pull at his thoughts, at his memories, showing him what he feared most. He stepped closer. The mirror flickered, and for a brief second he saw another version of himself inside, pale, trembling, eyes wide with unspeakable knowledge. Behind that reflection, the vampire stood, regal, cruel, its fangs hidden, but the menace unmistakable. A sudden chill made the hairs on his arms stand on end. The whispers rose. Do you belong here, or will you leave your soul behind? Jonathan's mind raced. Every mistake, every loss, every secret he had buried deep, all of it was on display. The vampire's presence seemed to feed on his fear, growing taller, more solid, more real. He realized the chamber itself was alive. The walls breathed, the floor pulsed, the shadows reached for him,
and every shadow carried the shape of someone who had entered before, adventurers, thrill-seekers, people who thought legends were just stories. The mirror flickered again, and the vampire whispered, softly, but cutting through the silence, "You see, Jonathan, the lair chooses, and it has chosen you." His chest tightened, the shadows pressed closer. The candlelight warped, revealing a hidden door behind the mirror, faint runes glowing along its frame. The vampire's voice grew stronger, more insistent. "Step through, or remain trapped forever among the forgotten." Jonathan hesitated, every instinct screaming. But he knew one choice would free him, the other would consume him entirely. He took a deep breath, gripping the edges of the mirror, and stepped forward.
Jonathan stepped through the mirror, and the world twisted around him. Light fractured into shards, sound stretched like taffy, and for a moment he felt as if he were falling through every shadow he had ever known. Then, silence. He landed on cold stone. The air was thick, metallic, almost alive. Before him stretched the heart of the lair, a cavern of black stone, ceilings lost in darkness, and walls lined with alcoves holding people, not dead, not asleep, frozen in time, pale and silent, their eyes wide in eternal awareness. The vampire stood at the center, tall, elegant, radiating calm menace. Its gaze locked on Jonathan, measuring him, dissecting every thought. "Welcome. Finally. You've seen the surface, but now you understand the depths." Jonathan's breath hitched. Why keep them here?" The vampire's smile was slow, deliberate. "Because fear, regret, guilt, these are sustenance. Every soul that walks in unprepared becomes part of the lair. And now, so will you, unless you learn." The alcoves shuddered. The figures in the alcoves shifted slightly, all staring at Jonathan. Their silence was deafening, the weight of their despair pressing on him. "You think you can survive by running, but the lair is not a place. It is a mirror, a reflection of your choices, your weaknesses, and every choice has a price." Jonathan staggered backward. Shadows stretched from the walls, curling around him like fingers. He realized the exit he had hoped for, a faint light in the distance, was not an exit at all. "You must confront it," the vampire said, voice echoing, "or remain forever." A vision appeared before Jonathan. His past mistakes, regrets, moments he wished he could undo, all replaying like cruel cinema. He felt his heart shatter with each one until he screamed. But then, clarity. A single memory surfaced. A moment of courage, a choice to help someone despite fear. He clutched it, his pulse steadying. The shadows recoiled. The figures in the alcoves shifted back into the walls. The vampire's eyes narrowed. "Interesting." Jonathan saw the faint outline of the exit once more. This time it pulsed with warmth. He ran, the lair twisting and contorting, trying to stop him. But the courage within him was stronger than the fear. He reached the exit. The light enveloped him. He fell through the mirror again, collapsing on solid floor. The normal world. The lair was gone. The vampire vanished, but the weight of the experience lingered in his chest. Jonathan's reflection in the mirror across the room now looked
different, stronger, wary, aware. He whispered to himself, "Some places are meant to test you, and some to change you." And outside, the wind carried a faint, haunting laugh, as if the lair somewhere still watched, still waited.